Okay, so number 12 is something that you've seen many times from me at this point. It's a typical 10% off sale price. And this is actually a three-way join. We have the item number, item description, item cost coming from inventory. Sale price, I know I spelled that column name wrong. Sale price is a calculated column with a 10% reduction. And then the category name comes from the category table, and then these come from the vendor table. So that's a three-way join. And the difference here is we're creating a view out of it. So let's look at the code. Okay. Now again, if this were, say, a homework assignment, I would first get it working and make sure I have some good data before I actually create the view. So it looks good. There's a sale price column. Okay, I've used the convert function to format it to 2 decimal places. But yeah, and it's a three-way join. As I said, I used an implicit join. You can use an explicit join if you prefer. So yeah, it looks good. And now I can create the view. And holiday sale, yeah, I already have this one. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Okay, now my view is created. Pretty straightforward, that one. Number 13, create a view called high cost items that will display all the inventory items that are above average cost. You will have to use a subquery. So finally, we have a subquery problem. So let's recap the subquery technique. This is actually kind of a simple one. And let me comment this one out. Okay, so we are asked to find any of those items that have higher than average cost. The average cost we have to use, we have to use a subquery to calculate that. So select all from inventory where the item cost is greater than the average cost, and this is how we find the average cost. Just selecting, using our aggregate function ABG, selecting that from inventory, but there's our subquery. Let's go ahead and, this is number 13, let's run that before we create the view. So I don't know what the average cost is, but it's probably, well, we can find out. Let me just highlight this and run that. Okay, so the average cost is $17.58. So all of these should be above $17.58, and they are. So that was number 13. Let's take a look at 14 here. Create a view called Fast Ship that will display all inventory items. Okay, plus vendor names and order times. That's coming from the vendor table, where the estimated order time is less than average. So again, kind of a simple subquery type of thing. I will paste the code in here. Now this one is a little more complicated because it's a join, but still the subquery aspect of it is not too bad. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so selecting all of these columns, notice they're coming from inventory. Oh, actually, they're coming from all 3 tables, so it's a three-way join. So this is the three-way join part, all that. You guys are really good at joins at this point, so we won't dwell on that. Obviously, I used an implicit join. You can do what you will with that, but tacking on to our where clause, we have and the estimated order days is less than the average. Again, the average comes from the subquery. So let's take a look and see what the average is just by highlighting that part. 6 days. So all of these, anything that comes up in the results is going to be less than 6 days. Okay, and what's this? Oh, you know what? I think I've got this one here. I thought that data looked weird. Okay, so let's see. Oh, only 2 have 5 days. So those are the only 2 that are below average. But in any case, it's looking good. Now I can create that fast ship query, or a view rather. Okay, and let's see here. Oh, just one more, 15. Let's take a look. Create a view called low cost per vendor, which will display items that are below average per vendor. This is what we would call the correlated subquery. These are tricky, like it's tricky to figure out when to use them, and usually I make a big deal about it in the question, in the problem itself. Like these two are just regular run-of-the-mill subqueries. They weren't a correlated subquery. Run-of-the-mill meaning in number 13 we're asked to find those that are above average for the whole table. Okay, the whole above average for the whole inventory prices, everything in the table. Here we're looking for below average shipping time for the whole table, the whole vendor table, all the shipping times for all the vendors. But here we're asked to find the items that are below average per their vendor. So it's not just below average all across the board, it's below average. Like I want Venchi items that are below average cost for the Venchi vendor. I want Slitty items that are below average cost for Slitty. So there's a subtle difference, but the technique is, as I said, the correlated subqueries. So let's take a look at the code. Let me comment this one out first. All right, let's not think about the view just yet. Okay, so this is where you're kind of like using two tables, but it's the same table, almost like two copies of the same table in the correlated subquery. So we will do the main table. It's the inventory table. Okay, selecting where the item cost is less than, and then inside the subquery, you have to create like a second instance of the table. I like to call it INV sub, or I use main and sub no matter what I'm doing, just to keep them straight. And so it's like you're joining the two tables onto themselves, and I still have the join clause and all that. This is a join in here, but and then obviously getting the average cost there. So it's the main and sub that you have to have going on in a correlated subquery. Okay. All right, so anyway, let's take a look. Let's run this. And I don't know, we have 15 rows returned. That's obviously it's being filtered somewhat, but yeah, okay, so let's just assume that's good data, and now I can create my view, and it's low cost per vendor, and yeah, there you have it. So again, just to recap, a view is a window into the database, and it's, there are all several reasons why you would want to use them, but certainly a very common thing to want to do is to create views and use views and use them to make your life as a database administrator easier.